Hey Math 1 students, this is from Unit 5, Lesson 17, a cool down called How Often Is It Calculated? So when we borrow money from a lender, the lender usually charges interest, a percentage of the borrowed amount as payment for allowing us to use the money. Interest is usually calculated at a regular interval of time, monthly, yearly, quarterly, that kind of stuff. Suppose you received a loan of $500 and the interest rate is 15%, calculated at the end of each year. If you make no other purchases or payments, the amount owed after 1 year would be 500 plus 15% of 500, which is this 0.15 times 500. That's how you find 15% of 500. Or we can also think of it as 500 times 1, because we have one 500, plus 0.15 500s. If you continue to make no payments or other purchases on the second year, the amount owed would increase by another 15%. The table shows the calculation of the amount owed for the first 3 years. So, by the way, you can just add these together. It would be 1.15, or 115% of what you started with. So you would take 500 times 1.15 once for 1 year, 500 times 1.15 twice for 2 years, or squaring it, and then 500 times 1.15 3 times, or just 500 times 1.15 cubed, which is the same thing, for 3 years. The pattern here continues, and if we want to figure out for any number of years, well, we just multiply by any number of times of 1.15. Since exponential functions eventually grow very quickly, leaving a debt unpaid can be very costly. Now, cool down. How often is it calculated? A savings account pays a 3% nominal annual interest rate and has a balance of $1,000. The key here is that it is annual interest rate, nominal annual interest rate. Any interest earned is deposited into the account, and no further deposits or withdrawals are made. Write the expression that represents the balance in 1 year if interest is compounded annually. Well, what's your annual rate? If $1,000 is our original balance, that's 100% of the amount of money in our bank account, but we get 3% more than that in a year, right? So that would be 103%. Just one time, because it's 1 year. Now, two, if interest is compounded semi-annually, well, first of all, this nominal annual interest rate, that's the interest rates for all of the compounding periods for the year combined together. Semi-annually, that means twice a year. Well, if total is 3% and it's calculated twice a year, what would the percent be every 6 months? If interest is compounded semi-annually, which expression represents the account balance in T years? Well, you have to get two things correct. You have to get the correct interest rate. Is it 3% or is it 1.5%? And then, since it's semi-annually, twice a year, you have to get the right number of times it's compounded before you figure out for the number of years. If you have questions, these last couple of cool downs are definitely going to be a lot more complicated. If you have questions, please ask. I'm here to help.